What's up guys, it's National Master Dem Apples here, back with another video, and I'm here to show this game between Levon Aronian and Vladimir Kramnik, back when Kramnik was good, and this is the World Championship Candidates Tournament. So both players are playing pretty well, and there are some ideas in this game that are just really shocking, and I think you could use them to some high degree of success in your own games. So we have e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop to b5, knight to f6. This is called the Berlin, and as you can see, black just goes knight f6. Kramnik has been known for the Berlin, as we have covered in a couple other videos. He used it to beat Kasparov. Well, he didn't beat Kasparov with it, but he beat him in the overall World Championship match. And so Kramnik's an expert in the Berlin. It's also known to be very solid and, yeah, very boring sometimes. So we have pawn to d3, bishop to c5, and white takes the knight. Kramnik takes back with the d-pawn. Usually the rule of thumb is to take towards the center. It doesn't work out well now because this is a free pawn. And with d takes c6, if you go knight takes pawn, there is queen to d4 with a very nice double attack. So that's kind of why you have to play d takes c6. We have castles and queen to e7, protecting the pawn, and h3. So here it's, I guess, important to note, queen e7 is a move, but h3 is most certainly not a move. What white is doing here is he's scared of bishop to g4, but I believe one of the moves, like the main move, is knight to d2, just developing a piece. But Aronian is scared of pins, and a lot of people, you face are scared of pins as well. But you can use this to your advantage, right? So a lot of times in these e4, e5 openings, people pin you, and you can strike back with h6, g5. And we'll show how Kramnik showcases a similar idea in this game. We have this crazy move. I don't know, I saw this game first and I was like, wait, what is he doing? And I couldn't believe my eyes, but this is not a bad move at all. Rook to g8. King is here. Rook go here. And attack king. Very easy, right? His plan is simple. g5, g4. Checkmate. The question is, how is white gonna punish this? And the general rule of thumb is right. Like when your opponent strikes on the flank, which this is kind of on the flank, you strike in the center, so you play something like c3, d4. I believe c3 is a good move here, but Aronian is scared, right? He goes king to h1, and this is just showing the first sign of weakness. I think c3 is a bit of a better move, but, he's scared. Knight to h5 is played. Just kind of improving the knight. Maybe the queen can come out sometime, but knight goes to f4 as well. But the main thing this does is it reinforces the g5 push, because now the queen supports it as well. So Kramnik is ready to go g5, g4. What is Aronian going to do about it? He goes c3, right? Very principled player. He's going to meet a flank attack with one in the center. So we have g5. Both sides are just aiming to get to each other's king, and now knight takes e5. This is just, I don't know, a little bit of a strange move. Before we take a look at it, the best move, I believe, is d4, and after takes bishop b6. White has a nice center here, and yeah, black has some compensation. Stuff is gonna happen. It's a messy game, but we'll just see how it turns out. Black has a small advantage here, partially due to the bishop pair, but also, look at this attack that's gonna come. White has good central control, though, and should not be doing too bad, although all his pieces are kind of underdeveloped. We have knight takes e5. Now, at first glance, it hangs a knight. On second glance, it does not hang a knight, because your own knight is hanging. That's what happened when you first played g5, right? You cut off the connection between your knight and your queen. So, queen takes e5 is not played, because after queen takes h5, it's rather difficult for black to start an attack. A lot of things are under pressure, and white has really good central control. d4 is coming next, and black could be in big trouble here. The attack is stalled right now, and yeah, maybe white can even think of striking back with f4, because he's already got a rook on this file. Black is just really badly coordinated here, but the position is not too bad. We have g4. Very nice move here. Now Black is kind of threatening the knight because the queen is no longer attacking the knight. Of course, this kind of gains a tempo, but like after pawn to d4, which is a fork, I'm not quite sure who really wins material. You'd have to do some more calculating and not lose your queen. But yeah, this is a nice move. Again, g4 is just something you want to play anyways. It attacks the pawn. It's just part of your plan, and you now block the queen from attacking your knight. So good job, your knight is no longer hanging. We have d4, a very principled move, attacking the bishop. And while it may seem tempting to play this tactic, like, oh, I take here, and when opponent take my knight or my bishop, it don't matter. Let's say he takes the knight. I take here and I win. Oh my gosh, I'm so cool. Yeah, but there's this concept called an umbrella pawn. And so why Kramnik played bishop d6 is because after takes, white goes g3, and all of a sudden, your bishop's hanging, your knight's hanging, and white's king is just going to hide behind your pawn, and you can't do anything about it. White is just a bit better here. Of course, black still has some play with bishop to g4, but it's not nearly as good because white, you don't have an attack. White's going to hide behind your pawn. He has a nice center, and your pieces are hanging. So this is just not very good for black. So bishop d6. Instead, black is trying to remove white's best piece. Again, all of white's pieces are on the back rank, and this exchange is very favorable for black. So we have g3. What does g3 do, you might ask? Well, I guess white wants to anticipate this. I suppose this move is prophylaxis and also kind of blunting the bishop. I don't really know, but apparently it's the best move by a long shot. And I think it's mostly prophylaxis, just daring black to take here and lose a knight. But at the same time, g3 is just a useful move, so that g2 is never under fire. So g3, bishop takes knight, removing the best piece on the board for team white. Takes. And now, very principled move by Aronian too. Trying to exchange queens, not when he's up material. This is an equal material position, but he's getting attacked, and he's getting attacked pretty hard. So it makes sense for him to trade queens. Now, Kramnik could take here. And he would be up a pawn and would probably not lose the game. But again, we still have that umbrella pawn. And at the end of the day, right, it could become an opposite colored bishop endgame, which is notoriously drawn. And if you look at the double pawns, right, it doesn't seem like black is really up a pawn. So, again, black is a bit better here, but I don't think it's enough to win the game. So queen to e7 is played. When you're attacking, you want to keep more material on the board, and black still has an advantage this way as well. h4, this makes sense, and maybe it's why g3 was played. h4, now there is a connect 3, and what is the point of this move? Well, now, it seems like for a moment, like all black's pieces have just been thwarted by these 3 pawns. And I thought here, oh, well, Kramnik screwed now. Right, he went over aggressive, his attack's gone. It's not, it's just started. c5, attacking the queen. The queen moves to c4. This is a bit strange, and throughout the rest of the game, you'll see that Aronian makes a lot of interesting queen moves. Bishop to e6, and yeah, I think he should have gone to d3. I don't think it makes too much of a difference, but here, like, you get your queen attacked with tempo. So, queen b5, c6, the pawn is defended, a very nice resource. Queen to a4 is very questionable. See, I don't think Aronian realized the danger his king was in, but he barely has any defenders on his king. When you go queen to a4, as opposed to something like queen to d3, on a4, your queen is really out of the game, and it just can't come back to defend your king because your pawn is in the way. So, this is just, I don't know, your queen is off sides, and the only thing defending your king is this rook and this small pawn chain, and there's a ton of material coming at you. Like, this is gonna get bad. Even this rook comes into the game, and it actually does some significant damage. In order to enhance the attack further, the move f5 is played. Wow. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of variations. Why is this such a good move? Well, what's black's point? he wants to go f4 and try to undermine the g3 pawn and obviously just straight up win it. Alternatively, he could take, but after bishop to e3, his forces are a bit clogged up. This would not be as good. He would like to keep this diagonal open if he can, but he wants to create some tension and maybe push f4, continuing the attack. We have bishop to g5. White cannot really take this one. If he does, there's this really nice move, knight takes g3. And after pawn takes, bishop d5, white's really in a pickle. He has to go to g1 or h2. Let's say he goes to g1. That looks like it holds out for a bit longer, but not long enough, because after rook to f2, queen e1, you could go back, but it doesn't really do anything, because checkmate. And so this knight takes g3 is also useful. If white just moves his king, you take this pawn, and this attack is just starting. g3 is going to come, queen h4 is going to come. Oh, white is already dead here. So instead, after f5, bishop g5 is played, and now chess.com thinks this is a brilliant move. I don't think so. I think it's the only logical move to continue the attack. You do not want to go like passive with queen f7. Here, the engine is saying that taking this pawn is the best move. I think it looks a bit scary after queen takes pawn, but I'm not an engine, and you know, if you really think about it, there isn't too much danger, and if you think about it, right, black's king could come in danger real quick. So the only way to continue the momentum is to sacrifice the rook. Oh my gosh. But it's not really that big of a deal, because after takes, you could take back and you would only be down 1 point, which is not a big deal. And white's king is still out in the open, and you won so many tempi. Instead, Kramnik does realize that time is of the essence, and this pawn is not. He goes f4, trying to undermine the pawn right away. This pawn can be taken any day. Like, it's not like white can protect it. So, f4 is played. Queen to d1, rook to d8. Again, he's moving his queen in strange ways. I mean, I get it now. He realizes that his king finally needs protection. But he's just getting hit all over. And, you know, getting your queen hit with tempo is never good. Well, not always, but usually not good. Pawn takes pawn, very logical. Knight to a3 is played. It's really hard to suggest a move for black here. If you want to play queen e3, just bring your queen back into the attack. There's this really nice move that black can play to get all his pieces involved, like pretty much all of them. It's g2. After takes, that's really bad for white, but takes, rook to d3, knight f4 comes. You can't take, by the way. And if you do something else, like black goes knight f4, black goes like bishop d5, black goes queen g5, you're dead. So this is a really nice resource. Of course, black is winning, but this is like the most crushing way to do it. So takes, knight a3, developing a piece, and now Kramnik still goes in with the rook, preparing to play something like g2 or pawn takes pawn, unleashing his rook. And you can see how ineffective white's pieces are. They're just stuck on the wrong side of the board. Like, don't do this, don't do this. We have rook to d1, bishop to d5, and this is just the star of the show, right? White has two main options here. We can see that this pawn is under attack, and white needs to deal with that, or not. Let's take a look at pawn takes pawn. This is not good, because this is actually forced mate. After takes, king f1 doesn't really matter, because knight g3, you can calculate it yourself. That's going to be checkmate. I like this variation. I think it's very forcing and very logical as well. Let's go for rook g2, and knight g3, ew. So, yeah, you can also go to f1. I mean, either way you slice it, it's going to be checkmate. In fact, rook to f3 is the fastest checkmate here. So, you know, what do I know? But the point is, white is going to get checkmated either way. Let's take a look at another way that white could put up some resistance. Takes. That doesn't really do much, though. Black is going to checkmate you, so you have to go f3. Now, there are a bajillion ways to win. You could just take this pawn, honestly. And, yeah, there's too many threats. There's e2, there's g2, there's f2, there's queen h4. Queen e2 as well, and you're getting mated. Oh, you lost your queen, but you get to sacrifice your queen and checkmate your opponent. How cool is that? So, yeah, all this was foreseen beforehand, but you don't... I'd say you should calculate, but like in this position, it's just so crushing that everything wins. So f3 is played, just defending the pawn. It's too late. There's already forced mate. Pawn takes pawn. Very simple. Just taking the free pawn. We could transpose into the line we just saw with rook d3 and queen e4. There's just too many threats. You can trust me. Like you're down a lot of material, but white can't do anything because if you look at it right, we have a whole grand total of 17 points hanging out here. 18, 19, 20 points just doing absolutely squat. Yeah, that's what I thought. So black is effectively up more than a couple queens in this position. Pawn takes pawn. Aronian took the bishop, but it was too little too late. Queen to e2, and I was like, oh wait, but he blundered his queen. And he doesn't have the f2 resource, but g2, and Aronian resigned. Let's take a look at why he resigned here. King h2, g1 queen, it's double check. So white's king does have to take, and after f2, black will promote or take the rook with discover check and checkmate. For example, king g2, f1 queen. And so if you want to go to g1, it just hastens your demise after f2, king takes, and f1 queen. So just overall an amazing attack by Kramnik. Very short game, especially at this level of chess, but shows you that even 2,700 plus grandmasters get bamboozled by caveman style attacks like rook g8, g5, g4, you know? And if 2,700s get confused by this, you can definitely confuse your opponents too. It doesn't matter if your attack, well, it kind of does, but it doesn't matter too much whether your attack is sound or not. Just try it in these e4, e5 positions. That's why a lot of times, if you're playing with black, it's better to just delay castling. Wait for your opponent to play something like h3 instead of knight d2. Because when Aronian played h3, he gave Kramnik a hook. So he can play g5, g4, and see, look, there's a hook on h3. And so just wait for the hook, and then you can just start blasting them apart. Usually people don't really know chess principles. Most people are just going to like shuffle their pieces, or as Aronian did, he just shuffled his queen, but no actual significant central strike really occurred. c3, d4 needed to be played a bit faster, and you know, it didn't seem like Aronian even did anything wrong, but Kramnik's attack was just too powerful, and a lot of his moves were logical, but a lot of them were just brilliant moves as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you try out this g5, rook g8, g5, g4 crazy attack, and yeah, good luck. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and see you in the next one.